Tomb Raider Legends was released in 2007 by Crystal Dynamics and I loved it. One of the best Tomb Raider games of all time, with the 2013 remake being the best. But was it actually good? I'm wondering. Or just good old nostalgia reminding the withered neurons in the hippocampus of better times? I didn't play the first games because their clunky tank controls made me become tilted. However, I've played and mostly loved all of the other games. I've always thought that it's the game you should be trying to fight, not the controls, because when you have to stop and wonder if the mechanic is an actually intended mechanic, then quite frankly something has gone wrong. It's the same thing for Brood War. I've seen how experienced players feel about it. And they say that high blood pressure is a silent killer.
Fucking try to make! God damn it!
No doubt they were good games, but just not for me. So, compared to its predecessors, Legends accentuated much more of the action in the action-adventure. Lara can now climb really fast, and when smashing a button, she climbs even faster. Or literally slow-mo jumping off of enemies and filling them with bullets. The more action you feel can already be felt from the intro bit at the start. You shoot by auto-locking your guns onto a target and then pressing the shoot key, occasionally face-tanking shots. There's not a lot of depth to it, but since you can flip around and the fights don't linger, it's pretty fun. Being a console game at heart, the controls can be a bit weird, but luckily you can slightly adjust them just a little bit. The acrobatics got a serious boost as well. In earlier builds, she was sliding and jumping off of walls like Prince of Persia. But it was most likely for the best that they cut out so much. All of that extra stuff would have meant more complex everything, which means more likely to screw things up. And since Legends comes after the franchise's proverbial fallen angel, they had to make sure that the franchise itself doesn't become a literal fallen angel. As for stability, the game crashed on me a few times, each time when not continuing from the level transition screen where the save file would get corrupted, forcing you to play an earlier checkpoint, and the second was a hard crash issue when next-gen content graphics setting was turned on. Apparently it can hit you at any time. I guess the endless fractal complexity of snow spheres are too much for the CPU, but honestly I think it looks better. But then again, I play TF2 with DirectX 8 on. Other than those slight hitches, it ran smoothly. For whatever reason, I really love the climbing in this game. It's a pity that it has so little of it. It feels smooth and snappy. Luckily, Corrupt Manor, which is making a comeback with a treasure hunt.
Above the waters, twin sisters turn their backs, one upon the other, to leave their umbrages unguarded. Lovely.
Has more climbing, and the penultimate level has some nice climbing bits as well. Levels also have collectibles which you can just pick up. By and large, you can find most of them without much hassle. A lot of them are just around corners. They unlock models, artwork, clothes, the montage of Lara dying to QTEs for that special audience, and permanent pistol upgrades. It's an adventure game. Adventuring through the levels is its main spiel, because the story most definitely ain't winning any Pulitzer Prizes, but it does provide for a fun romp. This one, like the entire franchise really, has the same kind of pseudo-history stuff going on as Stargate, and I love the franchise for it. Like the Lost City of Atlantis from the older games, newer ones having spoiler and a Japanese queen. It's part of what made Stargate awesome, or the pseudo-historical fables of Borges. Sometimes it's good to validate the gentle voice inside your head given by the special corrective facilities which doesn't exist. And not everything needs to be a deep dissertation on why turning frozen orphans into Christmas decorations is a bad idea. The smell alone should be argument enough. So was the actual game good? Judging by the menu music, yes it was. The story starts with Lara unfortunately manifesting her X-Men ability to destroy her surroundings while she and her mom are flying over Nepal, and so later on when Lara is proving physics to be a law in Bolivia, where she encounters a hedge fund spoon child holding a fragment, and we get a flashback where we find that Lara touched a bunch of magic space rocks and Lara's mom, hearing something about an explosion, vanishes. With that heavy of a past, it is no wonder Lara could body slam up that steel cage with a stone slab. The sword itself in the middle of it all is going to be our MacMuffin for this story, and thus we are sent on our romp across the world.
Keep yourselves caffeinated, lads. We've some work ahead of us.
In Peru, the low point of the game, we hunt for our childhood exposition. The villagers understandably go inside as soon as Lara arrives, as she starts jumping on their houses and going through their trash, stealing the town's artifacts. The first part of this level is not that good. We pew-pew with guns which cannot handle range in bleached out environments, and have ourselves our first on-tire section where you largely just duct tape the speed key down, bump around like a go-kart, and tank bullets far in excess of daily recommendations. In the second one, which is much longer, the cameraman sometimes starts daydreaming and you're left dreaming of a straight road. You can drive over mech-hits, which is funny in how arcadey feeling it is. There's no need for that kind of sass. We are accompanied on our adventure by the tech guy who's sassy and translates stuff to us, the butler whose name no doubt is Jervis, and the nerd, he's the whiny exposition depository. But then they end after a short while and all is good again. In the second part of the level, flashback Lara runs away from Puppy and we learn that our friend Amanda died. She drowned whilst Lara was showing her deadlift PR. Those bars are wide enough to not even matter. But Amanda escaped later by taking off her shoes and by giving the puppy some much needed training. Their lung capacities are amazing. What's neat is that Amanda is shown without mention at the beginning. She's the goth one. Pushing geometric shapes around to solve a puzzle, we get a piece of the sword, which Lara cups with her bare hands. Lara's memory, working according to linear storytelling, remembers about a piece in Tokyo, where, after enjoying the baked lava lamp equivalent of a party with double quadruplets, we make friends with the Yakuza, which no doubt led to the singular moment which flash fried the game into every hormonal teen's brain. The Yakuza doesn't want to give up the peace, so we jump a motorbike over a rooftop as Lara looks around in real time in slow-mo. Whereas the first two levels were a bit basic, Tokyo, I'd say, is where the levels start getting more fun and interesting. Already the swap from a desert world to a modern urban cityscape is refreshing, and crashing the bike adds some wackiness. Nothing better to relax to than a good tune. We get confirmation that it's King Arthur's magic sword, because finding 501 pieces of pottery and cataloging them is not that particularly thrilling. So before we head to Ghana, we fight the first boss of the game. Most of the levels have a boss fight, though they, like the game, are quite easy, albeit with some jank. The guy is on the second floor doing Simon Says prompts. It's actually good in the sense that it tests the game's base movements, which you no doubt have had to use to get here. Ignoring that we just shut up a few dozen guys in a highly developed urban area with a functional police force, we head to Ghana, where we open a beautiful Watergate set piece and enter the ancient tomb to find ancient Goombas inside. They even have designated waterfall ASMR locations and their very own Kane dimension, where we try to figure out why these civilizations didn't think about the concept of a button. And I would also ask why this many smashers, but then again this is a civilization which built under a waterfall and who made their hallways rend flesh. Plus there's a Crash Bandicoot run from a boulder section, it's a fun place. But then we fight the Spoon Boy and his fight is janky. Shooting, grappling and climbing are their own so-called modes, and the swapping between them is neither fast nor fluid. You either jump and grab or shoot and fall. Here you have 4 pillars holding up 4 platforms with underbellies which you have to shoot off and then pull them down. Whilst he is bum rushing you, it's not hard as you can tank without worry, but it is annoying. In the meanwhile, back home, Amanda visited the boys and somehow, instead of gaining information, leaked where she was going. Which is Kazakhstan, where each time I have played this, I've hopelessly gotten stuck at the start because I couldn't see the ladder. But luckily, that calming music is here to fill the void. We meet reasonable Russian soldiers who reasonably conclude that giving your life to this place would be dumb. So we get the GPS coordinates of the facility and do the previously mentioned on tire section. The train gets a bit wrecked, but welcome to Wolfenstein. The game sometimes feels just like a slow Crash Bandicoot. Amanda is just here and doesn't care about us.
I got over that a long time ago.
Doubtful? And that's the Tesla right there. Half-Life 2 came out in 2004. Legends went into production in 2004. Maybe inspiration. But before it can disappoint, we have to juice it up and it's underwhelming. It can't even suck guys off properly. Why are Goombas so convinced that they have your number when hundreds before them didn't? How much are they getting paid? Because their morale is quite frankly impressive. I'd ask why be so dumb, but dictatorships exist.
I tamed it then and made it my own.
How long exactly were you holding your breath down there? The third boss fight is with Puppy, who we time out in a corner as we zap the tonsil sacks around so we could grab the piece from above us and escape through the convenient crawl space right under the chair, the actual function of which will remain a mystery. Downtown England is one of the coolest levels in the game. It sure is lucky that we happened to find that one shield which happened to be lying about. The museum part is awesome, it just contrasts so well. Since the previous levels were fantastical, the mundane now starts to stand out as fantastical. It's curious how this game has managed to make a rundown husk of a building which you could see within a brisk walk somehow cool. The museum set pieces are great as well.
So that there would be no squabbling betwixt ye knights, Merlin bequeathed upon Arthur yon round.
And what makes them even more great is how much it triggers the nerd.
No surprise there. At least he knows his museum is for tourists.
Nerd is getting really triggered because apparently King Arthur can exist. Like, dude, you just saw a demonic puppy. I say sky's the limit at the moment. And why so pissy at the professor who owned the place?
Death of the owner, one Professor Worm. I shudder to think that at one time he had students.
You are at the moment a tailbone of a woman who 20 minutes from now will be surfing on coffins. With wholesome respect, of course. So by respectfully driving on a forklift and surfing some coffins, we reach the real tomb, a mini-sized cathedral. The lake before it doesn't seem to have a bottom. It's like that one section in Sunless Sea. And it's a no. How is this place so lit? Did Merlin use tech from Atlantis? Why aren't we looking for that instead? King Arthur is here in this amber like a gift shop souvenir. Ringing the bell wakes up the bellboy, a Hogwarts reject, the basilisk. Shoot the bells, bellboy gets mesmerized. Pull the lever with your grapple, inflict cumulative traumatic brain injury, and do that 4 times and he will politely take a nap in the perfect configuration for us to walk to where we need to. Back home, the gang meet up, But there's a piece missing. Luckily, Lara's mom had great taste both in jewelry and painters. But our journey comes to an end here, sadly. There's no way of finding a small thing like that in the mountains of Nepal after a decade plus of snowfall. After a dramatic exit from the stage by the plane, we have the pendant and head back to where it started, all those years ago. No wonder King Arthur was such a king. Dude was fucking hacking. The final boss is Amanda, who embraces the dark side a bit too much. They first allow us to powder rip on Goombas. It's cool that they actually let you use the sword and it's not just a prop. The fight itself is you just hurling magic stuff at it. It's awesome. A pretty fun fight to finish the game on. It turns out that it was actually present-day Lara and Amanda who were talking to her mother. She vanished due to bad reception. And we find out that Amanda has some gusto, talking like that to the person who killed hundreds of men and whose mom she just essentially killed, including also her dad.
I was supposed to go where you could have gone. Makes sense right this second, or I swear I'll execute you where you stand. I told you to pull out the sword. I told you. Where is my mother? Avalon! It's not a myth. Don't you get it? You'll never understand. I'm wasting my breath.
From this moment, your every breath is a gift from me.
Lara,
For years, my father believed Mother was alive. It was what kept him going. I pitied him for thinking that way. Alistair, go to the...
And we end on a cliffhanger to Avalon. For me, nostalgia wasn't a factor and revisiting this was just as fun. Although the controls can be a bit clunky sometimes and the lack of fluidity can be annoying, it rarely actually becomes a problem. They knew the game and its limitations, and for the most part, they designed the game around its strengths, avoiding its weaknesses. Where the game, I feel, shines is in its level design. The levels are distinct from each other, from jungle to desert to modern Tokyo, and only then a jungle again, contrasting with urban Japan. The levels don't become a visual strain, and by contrasting, the similar levels don't even feel similar. Not that Snow World in Soviet Wolfenstein Labs and Snow World in Syrian Tibet are similar. The levels seem to strike the right balance of giving you stuff and yet pushing you forward to the next things and having that next thing be as fun and exciting as the previous one, thus naturally motivating you to go and seek out more of the stuff. In a way, it's like Half-Life, a perfectly streamlined conveyor belt which has been fine-tuned to deliver you a good time, making sure that you don't start standing around bored and picking your nose. I find it's the most arcadey and cheesy out of all the mainline Tomb Raider games, and that's why I like this game. It's fun. From the temples to the chases with puppies to the boss fights, Lara is having fun on an adventure. It's hopeful and light. And with everything having become so focused on trauma stories, it has gotten even better with time. Why not have a fight with a T-Rex or a basilisk? Why not have backflipping gunjutsu? Like why not? It's fun. So yeah, bye.